Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. I thought we'll have a little after conversation, have a little talk, just have a little discussion, some deep chats, because we just had a very difficult conversation, tight conversation where it was quite hard. It was quite a emotional kind of conversation. I thought it'd be best for us to, get some time together and have a conversation. Look, if you guys want to come up on here and share your thoughts, not necessarily about the interview, but just have a deep conversation, then please join us. We don't mind having you on this panel to maybe have a little bit of a chat and talk about some deep things. But if you're new to the channel, make sure you like it, you share, you subscribe, you click on that bell button for notification of the what uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. All right, cool. Let's get into something. Let's just talk. I think obviously, I wanted to have this heart to heart because you know what? Life is tough, isn't it? And we're talking about trauma, we're talking about healing, we're talking about therapy, we're talking about healing from those particular things. And they're never easy, these kind of situations. People enter into relationships, and only when they enter a relationship do they realize actually I'm broken, or actually I'm hurt, or actually certain things are affecting me. You know what I mean? And so I think it's always important when we have these kind of interviews as well to kind of realize that okay, there are we're having some conversations here that are beginning to make us feel something, and as I said, even to I said to Felicia and to Daryl on the live, I said, you know what, those who have not been protected, they're the ones that most times are very protective, and that's my observation, because people who have gone through very harsh times tend to be the harshest, they tend to be the most hardest people, because they understand what it takes to be in a position where you're vulnerable and hurt, and they don't want others to feel that oftentimes. And so relationships that we have in this lifetime right now, if we're going to make them work, it's so important that we are able to do the work. And the work we talk about here is actually going about the healing process and journey. How do we do that? We have to sit down with ourselves, review why we make certain decisions. Why do you do what you do? Um, why do you say the things that you say? Why do you move the way you move? Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to review those things. But anyway, let me get Jay on, and if you want to join the conversation, there's an email below as well, guys. We'll just have a little bit of a heart to heart conversation. This won't be saved. I don't think I'll save it, but at least it's live, and you guys can join if you want to join. Yo, Jay.
What it do? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. What's saying? What are you saying?
Nothing.
Oh, I lost your sound. I can't hear you. Oh,
No,
there you
I
go.
just got a call at the same time. Give me a second. Shoot. Deep conversation, deep conversation. Y'all gotta excuse me for a second because
That's all
just
right.
got a call, so I gotta go move my car. But
No
yeah,
worries.
the chat was lit from the conversation. There's parts of
Mm,
it that, we do not discuss enough in our community and stuff. And a lot of that stems on like the domestic abuse that
yeah.
we go through, and as a lot of us go through it as children,
Mm,
and we don't have those safe places to talk to other people about it and actually get it off of us, so we just carry it through life and then carry it through relationships,
mm,
and we don't realize how much it's affecting the relationships that we're in because
mm-hmm.
we've never had a place to.
Oh, we lost her again. She'll come back. She was just saying, obviously, we don't realize how we've been affected by this stuff because we don't have a safe space to to be able to unpack this. Also, sometimes we don't even realize we've been abused. Sometimes we don't even realize we've been affected by the situation. Sometimes we don't even realize, that we are a victim. We even heard our sis even say earlier on the live, she didn't even count herself a victim at first. Sometimes we don't even count ourselves as being hurt by something, you know. Jay, you back?
Okay, yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I forgot
Yeah,
I was on
that's
my
right.
Wi-Fi.
That's all right. That's all right. You were saying?
Yeah, yeah. It does. You don't realize how much it impacts you when you haven't got it off of you, or you haven't even acknowledged it to go through the healing
Mm,
process. And so you're carrying it into relationships, and then you're acting out in relationships in different manners, not realizing where it's stemming from.
mm,
And a lot of us, we do this thing of where we carry baggage from one relationship to the next,
yeah.
and we're just going through relationships with bags, with bags, with bags. That's here you go with Erica Badu, bag lady. You're just carrying weight to
Mm,
every relationship, and then you're dropping your weight off on other people, expecting them to help you unpack or help you even carry the weight. Yeah. And like you say, we need therapy, we need counseling, we need coaching, we need to get out
mm.
of these things that, these toxic behaviors that we have. And sometimes we don't even know that we're in.
Oh man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm definitely. I think even just looking back myself and looking back at some of my own behaviors in the past, and at the time you don't realize there's brokenness in the way you're behaving. You're seeing it as, no, just me, man. Do you know what I mean? That's how I operate. That's how I move. That's how I flow. That's what I do. Do you know what I mean? And if I can even, I'll share with you guys, as well. Like, one of my early relationships, I always tell you guys, listen to me. I was emotionally abusive because I was stonewalling. I was stonewalling with a passion. Yeah. In that particular relationship, I was stonewalling, and I remember my friend was like, "How are you gonna just I could disappear off the face of the planet for 3 or 4 days. I can disappear. No call to my girlfriend at a time, no call to my missus at a time, no conversation with my missus at the time. I would just literally disappear. Yeah, you would see me just disappear. And I wouldn't call, I wouldn't text her for 3 or 4 days. And all I would be doing is I just needed space. It was too much for me. I just needed space. I needed time just to be on my own. I needed to think things through. I needed to just, do some work, or, I had to do something on my own because I had grown up knowing how to be independent. That when I got into a relationship, I found it difficult to be able to, to be able to stay in an environment where I'm having to consistently give a part of myself. There was a selfishness in my behavior that I didn't want to give part of myself over to the other person. I don't want to give that level of vulnerability to them, right? And so it would come out as stonewalling. I would, like I said, she would text me, and I'll be like, I just look at the text and I'll be like, I'll go about my business, man, and she will tell me like, why? How come you didn't message me for 3 or 4 days? And I'll be like, oh no, because like obviously man was just busy, and I had work to do. What was I doing? I was 9 to 5, blood. No one's got any. I've not got that much work to do. I was 9 to 5. Like it's not like I was doing YouTube at the time or anything like that. I wasn't doing that, right? But see them times there, I would have never considered that emotional abuse. I would have considered that, oh no, that's just me. And like I said, my friend called me out at the time, and she was cussing me, and I was like, "Why are you cussing me, blood? Like at the end of the day, I'm not cheating. I'm not out here with other girls. Okay, I'm not flirting with a bunch of women. I just needed some time to myself." But she's like, "Did you communicate that?" "Well, she should get it because obviously, bro, if I don't message you back, you should get the fact that I'm busy. I'm doing something. I'm away, right?" And you're so blind to it. You can see it. I could see what she was saying. I just didn't want to accept it, and I didn't want to change. You know what I mean? It would require energy to change, and I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? And so I was stuck in that way. So that's why I'm passionate about talking about relations, telling you guys, listen, look, some of these behaviors are emotionally abusive. Whether you want to call it that or not, it's emotionally abusive. Some of us stonewall. Some of us are too sharp with our tongue, and we call it "I'm just being honest" when you're really a verbal abusive person. Some of you, some of you, the way that you behave, you can distance yourself. Some of you punish your partner when, you know, you get into an argument, you have to punish them because you have to feel like you have to be vindicated. You have to always be right. Some of you don't realize that these are emotionally abusive tactics that we use in order to gain power in a relationship because we're trying to protect ourselves. As much as I can explain the reasoning, there is no excuse for the behavior. This is the point. You know what I mean? So we're having that deep chat. You know, what are you saying, Jay?
Yeah, definitely that we tend to lash out in different ways on the abuse, and we speak on it on the channel from the time dark arts and stuff like that, the games that we play and things and stuff. That's emotional abuse that we're shelling out on people when we play those games, you know. Just like we'll take for example, what is her name off of Ready to Love? The Black Widow, the one that's considering herself Black Widow. Camille, you're committing emotional abuse on other people and stuff, and now you're in a position where you're almost desperate to find love because now you're on a show. Not saying that the people on the show is desperate to find love, but you play games. You've been engaged 3 times, yet here you are looking for love still. So it's like you do these emotional things, but they get you nowhere. We play these games with people and it doesn't do nothing but hurt both parties, us and them. And more so us at the end, because we're the ones really left alone, because they'll move on and find it because they have already in their process of healing and stuff. And so when we're not in our process of healing, we're just going through the cycle over and over and over. And so we decide to get off the hamster wheel and move on and actually get the healing that we need. And sometimes the healing that we need comes all the way from childhood. It doesn't even deal with the relationship. Like for me, for example, I had realized that my issues came from my mother. It didn't even come from like daddy issues or nothing like that. My mother was my issue. And I had to realize that I couldn't use that typical blame that every woman that has daddy issues use. It's like, oh, well, I'm like this because I didn't have my dad. I couldn't use that in this scenario because I had my dad. I didn't have my mother. So any love that I was looking for, I already knew it couldn't fill me. It couldn't fill that void that I had because the only person that can do that outside of my mother is God. So it was just like, I have to go on with that void and have to learn how to overcompensate in other areas. So I wouldn't lash out in anger or fear, which a lot of it was, or some type of insecurity because of the abandonment I felt from her. You know, and I had to find that out early. I had to address it. And I mean, it still plays in my life today. It's not something that's just going to go away immediately.
Of course.
You know, that's childhood experience since birth. So it's not going to go away, but I have to learn how to manage it to where it doesn't just like vomit out on somebody else. And I'm now making, you know, this tragedy of a relationship, or I'm just taking it out of them out of fear that they're going to do something like she did to me. You know, I have to come with the patience of myself and try to help that, you know, they have the patience to work with me just as much. And it's not easy, you know, just trying to walk down that path and saying, you know, I'm broken. I am broken. I need help. You know, I sometimes, some days I don't know how to fix me, you know, and as much prayer and spiritual guidance that I try to go through, sometimes it's just not enough, you know, and I'm not going to say God is not enough or whatever. He's not going to give me enough. But at the time when I need it, it's not enough. And I have to sit to myself and heal. I have to be by myself sometimes and just heal. Like I have to sit in it. I can't keep. I'll put it like this. If one example, my grandfather was a alcoholic, and I say between him and my mom, they're both alcoholics. She took after her father. But one thing about my grandfather is he didn't want nobody to see him like that. So he would isolate himself. And in some regards, I respected him for that, but it hurts because it's like I don't have no true connection to my grandfather. You know, but that isolation was one thing that I learned from is sometimes when you're in a bad space, instead of pouring that negativity out on the people around you. Just go be alone for a while until you're in a better space to deal with others.
Mm.
And that's what I took from that situation is sometimes I just have to be alone until I'm in a space that I'm capable of bringing good energy to other people and not
Mm-hmm.
just taking away and feeding off of their energy to try to make myself feel better.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Yeah, you've not lied there. You've not lied there. It takes sitting with oneself to be able to have the conversation with self and said it's time for a change. You've got to be sick of the behavior you've got, sometimes to be able to change and to have the energy to want to bring about a different set of results. I think even myself, and like you said, Jay, still trying to recover in the sense of like even now myself, I wouldn't say I'm people see me and think, oh, I must have loads of friends, but it's like I don't lend myself to everybody. People can lend themselves to me. I don't lend myself to everybody. You know what I'm saying? So, I have one true friend that's always been there for time. And I have other people that I know I'm close to, but the majority of people I don't know them like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they may have a deep conversation with me one day, but I don't follow up with a call or message or see how you doing every week or whatever. I just don't do them kind of things. I find it harder to attach myself with people, I find it harder to be able to be so close knit with everybody. Do you know what I'm saying? It's almost as if I trust nobody. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I compartmentalize. So let's say if I have one problem, I'll go to this person for that problem, and I'll go to another person for another problem. I'll go to another No one person should have all of me, I say to myself. It's almost a defense mechanism. It's like if someone has all piece of me, that's dangerous. You know what I mean? If they fail me or they hurt me, but I'm done. No, 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 no. I'm not giving nobody that power. And so that the mind begins to compartmentalize those things. Listen, when you're counseling, it's brilliant because people think to yourself, why, how are you able to do it? It's because it goes in, it's gone into a box. It's gone. I don't remember. And then it comes back to next week again when we do our next session. I'll be there, but it's gone. But the other side is that when you are dealing with real relationships with people, the trouble is, I keep hearing the same comment. You know so much about me, but I don't know nothing about you. Yes, it's true. You know nothing about me because I haven't shared anything with you because I struggle to do that. Um, and that's why I'm so passionate about certain things because a lot of stuff I talk about is from experience. Not putting all that pressure on your partner. I used to have a thing like I'd be like, okay, I can't share certain things. This is reserved only for my partner. And I realized as much as part of what I was saying was true, part of it also is going to damage a relationship because I'm going to be putting so much weight on somebody who should be my personal lover or whatever, someone should be my lover or whatever, to actually carry a burden of asking questions or being available for me to release certain information to them. And what happens when they fail me or when they can't do that? It's I'm gonna have a struggle there because what I haven't done is I haven't had a therapy. And this is what I keep saying to people: we need therapy. You need therapy. You need a counselor sometimes just to release a lot of the information that you're talking about. It changes your perspective. So now I've had that. It's like, why do I don't need a partner that I can just tell everything deep situation that I've been through. I don't need to do that anymore because I've exercised it now. Do you know what I mean? That's not what's going to be a barometer or a marker of someone that I want. It doesn't need to be that way anymore. But if you don't do that work beforehand, that's the kind of person I was going for. And that's not long ago, guys. I'm not trying to go on like I'm a saint. That ain't long ago. So yeah, it's just things that you have to kind of work through. You know what I mean? Kind of work through. You saying, Jay?
No, I said definitely, definitely. I guess I do the same thing. I would pick and choose who I tell certain situations to just based off of what they had going on and
Mm,
stuff. Like, if it was relationship stuff, I have pretty much my brother that I would go to and talk to him because he's married. He's been married. You know, I won't talk to single friends for that fact because some of their opinions sometimes would be negative.
mm,
I generally would just, and then Yeah, I'm kind of the same. Like I do have like a major trust factor, and that's because of the things that I've gone through as a kid. And I know people look at me and it's like, oh, you're super open and you share these things. It's because I've dealt with those parts of me
Yeah. Yeah.
enough to be open, but I wasn't open before, and I wasn't open in a time frame that I feel like I should have been open because I probably would have saved more people hardship had I
Yep.
been. And so that's one thing I still deal with to this day is the thought of I should have came forth with some things that happened to me a lot earlier, so those people wouldn't be still out here potentially harming others.
Mm,
And so that's the one. I don't live with too many regrets. That's probably the only one I have. That
mm,
I wish that I had the courage to speak my truths a lot sooner. You
mm,
know, but here now I'm in a place where it's like it's a little bit better for me to deal with. I can talk about it a little bit more, and so it's like possibly I can help the next person get through whatever they're going through. And I'm not saying I have all the answers.
mm,
I don't know what to. Sometimes some days I don't know what to do because some days it still hits me just like your trust issues come from you know somebody violating you at a very
mm,
early age.
mm,
Somebody that was close to you, and it is just like I carried myself a certain way through most of my life just because I didn't want to deal with it. I raised my daughter a certain way because
mm,
that fear, I didn't want it to happen to her. I'm very protective, like you said in the last thing. Those that weren't protective become more protective, and it hit me when you said that. I was like, well, damn, I just never thought about it. I just thought because like she's a Leo, I'm a Leo, this is what we do. This is
mm,
just the nature of us. But when you said it, I was like, well, maybe I am that protective just because I wasn't as protected as I needed to be, or I didn't feel I got the protection I needed to get, or
mm,
I deserved, and so I am overly protective to the point, even with my friends. Like if I feel a certain energy from a person that you bring around me and that's supposed to be your friend, I'm like, nah, watch that person. Don't bring that
mm.
person around. Watch them. Like
You're gonna
something
mess up
about
the zone.
them.
Don't do it.
Yeah, something about them. Like, but that's who you want to be friends with. I guess I just got to watch you too. Like
Hmm.
it get like that. But yeah, now I started looking at it. Tonight's discussion was a lot because I was like really looking at myself and a lot of things that I do, and I was just like, okay, I'm still seeing you still need more work. You getting there, but you still need more work. We'll see.
Yeah. No, no, I'm with you, man. I'm with you, man. I think I'm the same way. I'm saying, I need work too, and it's a work in progress. You know what I mean? And it's something that I'm working. Even I've told God about as well. Like, hey, I want to be able to change this part. I know it's a slow burner, but I want to be able to start working on that. Being able to trust people and be able to offer myself, to people, because honestly it's one of the most difficult things, honestly, and like you're saying, these are childhood things, like, my biggest thing is like, yo, I don't want no one to rely on me. Don't do it, because I might not be here. I might not be here. I might be somewhere else tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't rely on me. And actually, that comes from the fact that someone else wasn't reliable for me. And that's not saying my parents were bad or anything like that. Again, it's emotional care. Sometimes the physical and the financial is sorted by your parents, but the emotional care that you actually needed, sometimes can be lacking. Right? They've got to work and try and earn a living and go through their own hardship. They're trying to make things work. I'm not excusing everything. I'm just kind of just giving reasons. Um, and you're starved in a particular area, and you realize, okay, cool, I've got to fend for myself. Can't rely on anybody. And then so what happens? I then have a nature of, I don't want you relying on me, bro. I might not be here today. Tomorrow I might be gone. Like today we had a deep chat, but don't think tomorrow is gonna be another deep chat. I'm just here for the time of the season. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like my favorite quote. I'm here for the time of the season, so don't rely on me. You know what I'm saying? Don't ask me to be a mentor, because I'm not about to mentor you, because I might not be here tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
You're here for a good time, not a long
A long
time.
time.
For
So
real.
take it while you can, because I might be gone.
Exactly. No, definitely, definitely. It's like, the therapy is much needed. I know it's taboo in the Black community for
Mm,
some odd reason. We just act like that's just the worst thing that we can ever do. But it's actually there for a reason. It's actually, we're here with other people for a reason. We need to, sometimes go to somebody that is equipped to handle being unleashed upon. Like,
mm,
we try to throw it on our friends, we try to throw it on our family. Sometimes they're just not the ones. They just can't handle it. They don't give the good feedback. They want to
yep.
they want to jump in too soon, or they don't give you the actual like acknowledgement that you might
Yep.
need right there. You get one of the two. It's either a blank stare, like what,
Mm. You went through that.
or oh,
What do I say?
right. The weird church hug on the back, like, huh?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Or they want to over comfort you in the
Mm,
moment, and it's like, no, 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 not right now. And I've been blessed to find people through my journey that was equipped enough to handle me telling them
mm,
my story, that actually helped me get through my story. Because there was one lady I remember I met. She was a coworker at the time, and she was basically, we were just having to sit down, talk about things in life and all that. And I got to bringing up my mother, and the tears started to fall. And
mm.
she was the first person to tell me that you're not healed. As much as you like to keep saying you're healed, you're not, because the tears fall as soon as you brought her up.
Yeah.
And I hadn't got to that place, at that time where it was, I can have a conversation without being feeling some type of way about her, and the things that I thought about she did and stuff. And don't get me wrong, my mother has good qualities about her.
Mm,
She was just under the influence of something else
mm,
for a lot of the time. And so she did things that most parents under the influence would do. So it was just like, I got good things from her, but what I really needed, I didn't get.
mm.
She wanted to be my best friend at times, and it's like, no, I need you to be my
My
mother.
mom. Mm,
You know, I got good qualities of keeping the house clean, cooking, and all that stuff like that. But when I really needed you to protect me,
mm-hmm.
you didn't do it.
Mm,
So it was one of those things or whatnot. And I had to actually get to a point where I started talking to people about their childhood and their experiences growing up, to see what led them down their path
mm.
in their life and how they got there. And unfortunately, I can't have that straightforward talk with my mom, because it's like talking to
Yep.
Treasure
Yeah.
off of marriage boot camp
Fair
or
camp.
whatnot. Yeah, it's like talking to her, but I talked to other people around to try to get a general concise about who she was and how did she end up in this space, and to try to just find the grace enough to say, you know what, I forgive you for doing what you knew. Like, you didn't know no better. You was put into a position at an early age that forced you to just walk a certain life, and I have to forgive you. And some days I like, I wish I had her, and then there's other days it's like, I'm glad you weren't like totally in my life. Like, I'm glad I know who
Mm.
you are, but I'm glad you weren't totally there, because I can only imagine the chaos I would really be in, like the person I really would be, because I actually love me. I love the me
Mm.
today. So it's like, I don't regret going through the experiences I went through, because then I'm
Yeah.
here to be able to talk to you guys about them.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Yeah, we go through things for a reason. We go through a thing, and it's not always pretty. I'll be honest with you, and it's not always the most and the most loving thing to go through. Um, but I think some of the experiences that we all have when we're young, and hoping and wishing that we had more, and on emotional level. And I think a lot of things that people um are going through it, like I said, it starts from obviously childhood and starts from parenting and what they're able to give us at the particular time and season. And even myself, I think of it, and I come from an African household. My dad was good, my mom was good. They weren't bad parents at all. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's a common theme. We all you get to a certain age and you do begin to try and have empathy for your parents, right? You try to see and humanize them in certain areas. You just wish that you could have a sit down conversation with them and just be like, "Yo, you know that this area was mash up." And I just need you to see that. Like, I am not asking for miracles. I'm not asking you to even change the clock back. I'm not asking for you to go back in time and change that experience. I've had the experience. What I am asking for right now is just for you to see that this stuff, you missed it, right? And all it takes a lot from parents is just to say, "I'm sorry, I missed it." And even if
Hmm.
they don't, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it just requires a little, like, "I'm sorry I missed it. I didn't even realize that, I did that, blah, blah, blah." And it's like, that's all sometimes all that the child needs at 20, at 30, at 40, at 50, however old I am. That's all I'm needing from you. I just need you to acknowledge it. I'm not asking for you to go back in time and fix it. It's not possible. But at least give me something here whilst you're alive, whilst you're breathing, whilst you're coherent, whilst you still got your full mind on. Please at least hear me and just say, and hear me out and have empathy for me as your child, that, listen, you missed it, and it's one of the most painful things for any child to go through and have a conversation with their parent, and then they're dismissive of their pain, or they say, "That's not how I remember it," and now it's an argument. And now whenever you try to bring that point up, they're gaslighting you, or making you out to be the wicked child who's now a stepchild, but was really their child, but they're making you out like you're a stepchild. Like, found the way you talking to me as if I'm you inherited me and adopted me, like you didn't have me out of your womb. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's every parent. I'm just kind of speaking from a general perspective, that if people are going through some of these tough hardships, and just being able to have that conversation with a parent oftentimes can be the most difficult thing. And actually, it's probably even more, just as painful as the original source of input where that event happened in that day and time of life. You just wish that as you've grown, they could grow in that area and see it. And sometimes they just don't have the capacity. But to the person who's been feeling that pain, what does that mean? You don't have the capacity. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean you ain't got the capacity? Like, yo, you find the capacity.
Right.
Extend the hard
Find
drive.
it quick.
Find it quick. Extend the hard drive. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Only thing I could say to that is because I'm one of those, like, I try to have those conversations with, like I said, my mom, and it go left, it go left. I can't remember. That never happened. That's not how I see it. Whatever, whatever. So it was just like, okay, fine. All I know is that at one point I said, okay, let me be something different for my daughter.
Mm,
Let me be something different for my daughter. So at this point, every so often I hit her and say, hey, look, if I'm not being the best parent that I could be, just let me know. If there's something I did wrong, if I made you feel some type of way, let me know. Because
mm.
I don't, like I tell everybody, we don't get a manual. When we leave
You
the
don't
hospital with the baby,
know.
we don't get no manual on what to do. It's okay, good luck.
You're out there in the world.
Happy parenting. Happy parenting. Enjoy. Figure it out. This is what you wanted.
Mm,
So, we go through it, and sometimes we think we're doing the best. I had my daughter in college, and I play ball. So it was a point where I had to send her home, and that was the hardest thing for me because I had abandonment issues and I didn't want her to feel that same way. And it was only for a couple of months, just through basketball season. And I mean, I must have cried almost every day until the
mm,
season was over with, because it was just like the weirdest thing, because I just didn't want her to feel that way. And so when she got of age, I had to ask her, like, hey, did I ever make you feel like I wasn't there for you? I wasn't around. I abandoned you or anything, just to make sure, because I just didn't want her to have any feelings of anything I grew up with. I try to give her the best, but already we started off wrong because now we're in a co-parenting situation. I had her the same age my mom had me, so I had a bunch of fears when I went
mm,
into parenthood. It was just like I'm doing everything. I just felt like I'm doing everything, and it was weird at first. because I was like, I feel like I'm going down the same road as my mom. Like, let me do
Mm,
everything. And it got to the point where I held on and I struggled because I didn't want to just like have somebody else raising her.
mm,
My mentality was I'd rather struggle with you than give you and somebody else that can take care of you a little bit better than I can
mm.
handle you while I finish school. And I don't know if that was the best thing I did or not. So as she got older, she's a great kid, but it's just like maybe I could have did more. Maybe I could have did better. Maybe I could have gave you to my parents at the time so they can take care of you a little bit better. But then how would you feel on the flip side if I did that? So it's just, you know, I don't know. I try to give her the talks that I can't get. So that's all I'm saying. Like if you got kids out there right now, just talk to them. They're people. They're little humans. Check in on them sometimes. We always forget that, we just the parent. You got to do what we say, and this is what life is. My parent taught me this way, so this is how you learn to. No, 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 no. They're humans. They're growing. They're developing their own brains and stuff. And sometimes you got to check into that brain and say, hey, you okay? You all right? I'm not raising no little serial killer, am I? Like, just check into your child sometimes.
Mm. Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy out here because, um, what you're talking about is, trying to break these kind of patterns. When you notice the patterns, you start seeing the patterns. Like I always used to say to myself, "Oh, I'm not gonna be like my dad." Not that he was bad. Like I said, I want to make it clear, it wasn't that he was bad, but there's certain things I don't want to copy that he's doing. Do you know what I mean? I think there's things he could have worked on, and I don't want to follow that same route. I was like, I don't want to be like him. And then before you know it, you're freaking like them. It creeps up on you. One day you're talking exactly like they're talking. You know what I mean? And you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Why am I sounding like just like my mom and my dad? You know what I mean?
Start looking around like, are they in here?
It's like, yo, like I'm channeling my inner dad and mom. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's crazy how quickly you end up behaving like them. And like I said, this is it can work for positive, it can make for negative. Do you know what I mean? But for the negative stuff, you really have to be conscious of those things. I remember there were some characteristic traits that I saw with my dad that I said, I don't want to follow that route. I don't want to do that what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? It might have worked for him there, but it's not going to work for me here. I don't think that's a positive thing for me. And I had to make certain decisions. I'm still making them now. And this is what I keep telling people about these conscious choices. Like they are not, some choices are for short term. When you do it, it affects you short term and it's done. There are other decisions where patterns of behavior, it's in the blood. If you don't choose to actively do different every day, you will fall back into the natural patterns of the blood. It's just what flows through the system. You're predisposed to this type of behavior or predisposed to act in this particular type of way. If you don't become conscious and aware and awake, you end up following the same footsteps as your parents. And it's like, oh, you have to then you're asking the question, I don't know how I got here, I don't know how I got here. Well, if you weren't active in actually being consciously aware of those decisions, those things that are happening to you, you end up going down the same path. So yeah, a lot of the stuff I had to try and I had to sit down myself, see the behavior and go, okay, if I do that, I'm gonna copy the same thing he's doing, change it, do something different. Because if you do the same thing and hoping for different results, that's a definition of insanity. So, as a child, also I had to take responsibility for the fact that there are going to be patterns of behavior that I do need to work on. For instance, like I said, not trusting people, compartmentalizing, those things are born out of a lack of emotional care from when you're younger. And those things I have to work on, in order to change the pattern so that my kids don't get that particular aspect of me. God willing, I'll have kids in it.
You will one day. Don't worry.
Amen.
As soon as we get you that wife, don't worry.
That's right.
not beforehand. Okay, don't go down
That's
my
right.
path. Just learn from me. Just learn from me.
Hearing.
If you do anything else.
I know. That's to behave.
Yeah, nah, yeah, but definitely it's hard to break these cycles. I know we were talking about it in the chat. A
Mm.
lot of these cycles don't get broken, and the reason why they don't get broken is we don't talk about them enough.
Mm.
It's hard to break something that's not discussed. You know, it's
Come
just
on.
like that thing where the absent father is not there or the absent mother is not there, but the child behaves like them. You
Yeah.
know, it's it because the child doesn't know any better, doesn't know anything different. So sometimes they start to act like that person that is not there. You
Mm.
know, and when we keep acting like these things don't exist, that childhood abuse don't exist, mental abuse, physical abuse, all of these things don't exist, then they continue to happen
Mm.
and we normalize it.
Mm.
And it's not a normal thing. This is not something, and it's sad because while we were in the chat, it was just so many of us
Yeah.
that was going through it at the same time, and it's just like, this is ridiculous. This is not 1 in 10. This is not 1 in 100. This is literally 1 out of 1, like a
Mm.
situation. Like almost every last one of us
Yep.
was going through something, and it all stemmed because the sister had brought up one thing that happened to her. And it was just like, well, that happened to me too. And that happened to me too. And that happened. And for the most part, all of us didn't even talk about it until we were in our later years.
Mm.
And I know as a kid, it's hard for us to process it and fully understand what is going on and what is happening to us. But that's the point of why I say, well, we don't feel protected, because somebody else should have been talking to us,
Yeah.
saying these things shouldn't happen. And if somebody does this to you, let me know. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they do. You tell me. And that was one thing I made sure to instill in my daughter. I don't care if they tell you that they're going to kill you, they're going to kill me. We just going to be some laid out people out here on these streets, because once you tell me, that's it. It's going down. Like, shouldn't nobody be doing anything that is inappropriate to you
Mm-hmm.
without me knowing about it.
Yeah.
I I am your protection because I brought you into this world. That is my number one job. And I was actually listening to something on YouTube earlier today, was talking about a lot of our behavior stem from childhood.
Yeah.
Just the mental neglect that we go
Mm.
to, the emotional neglect that we go to. They were basically breaking it down to, a baby basically comes into this world depending on everybody else around them. Only
Mm.
thing that they have going for them is the smiles or the tears, the cries to get the food, the diaper change, patted on the back, sleep. They're depending on everybody else around them. So they
Yeah.
learn these behaviors on which one works.
Mm.
If I cry, then therefore I get attention. If I smile, I get some attention, but it might not be the attention that I need. And so we develop these patterns from
Mm.
infancy, and then it based off of how our parents treat us, how they, if they pick us up and they hold us to their bosom long enough, we start to develop that love.
Yeah.
We start to develop this sensation to be caring and empathetic and everything, because we feel their emotions while we're there. But
Mm.
then if they don't do that and they just let us stem for cry, we start to feel like we have to already be self-sufficient, learn
Yeah.
how to defend for ourselves, or we're going to be left to die.
Yeah.
And that's at infancy.
Yeah.
That's crazy that, I mean, God is wonderful how he made us, but it's just like crazy that a baby literally is already learning, either I can depend on you or I can't.
Yep. Attachment issues.
Hmm.
Yep.
And it's just that. It's just a lot of people just look at babies and it's just like, oh, this is a cute thing or whatever. And it's either I got resentment because I don't like the father, I don't like the mother or whatever. So this is how I'm going to treat the baby. It's like, no, that's not right. Because then now you're raising a person to go off in the world and do the same thing.
Yep.
And the cycle continues. Now they're out here being abusive and neglecting their offspring and
Yep.
their partners and their friends and stuff, because all of what you taught them in the first few months of their life.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. Foundations are always important. That's what we say. Foundation is very important to how you build a building. And foundation in any child's life is the formative years and the sponge years. And it's important that the parent gets that right, or the parents get that
Hmm.
right, you know. And that's what I'm saying to you, that money is good, but it's in that formative years. If you don't emotionally care for that child, forget money. That child, listen, that child will not remember nappies or whether you put a towel around its waist. It will remember the fact that you could not give it emotional care, though. The
Hmm.
body will suffer, and the mind will suffer, and the heart and the soul will suffer, you not caring emotionally. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that money isn't important. What I'm talking about is that the emotional care cannot be bought, and the time cannot be brought back. Once
At
you lose
all.
that time, it is gone. So before we think about money and think about how we can spoil our children with DNG and Prada bag and shoe and everything to make our child look fun, have you actually contributed to that child emotionally? Have you supported that child? Simple little things. We spoke about this on Marriage Boot Camp watching it, and I was saying, how many parents will go out and support their child, going out and playing sports? How many of us have heard, I've heard, I'm busy, or I can't come to your recital or your rehearsal because I'm working, or because I'm too tired, or whatever. And these are all valid reasons as to why they can't come. They're working probably 2 or 3 jobs. Some of our parents, some of our parents are striving hard just to kind of put a roof over your head. Let's not cheapen some of the ordeals that some mothers and some fathers are going through to try and make sure their children are kept in a safe place. But it's just the little things, it's the little things that make you appreciate as a young child that you're loved by your parent. And some of those things are simple things like I said, supporting that child in those moments where they're maybe perhaps doing a play, or even my homework. Can I bring my homework to you without you wanting to spank me? Like, yo, like some of the things, like those things, I'm not against spanking all the way. I thought some of the spanks I got, some of them were correct. I ain't gonna lie to you. Some of the
Yeah,
spanks
some
I
of
got,
mine's too.
I deserve them. Some of the spanks I got,
Just a few.
just a few, I deserve some of them, right? And other times I got spanked. I just didn't understand why I'm getting spanked in this moment. Things like homework, and this is what's made me a perfectionist, and I can't be perfect. It is the most destroying habit to have, where you want to be a perfectionist and you're not nowhere near a perfectionist. I'm not even close. I procrastinate, let alone be perfectionist. I'm the worst type of perfectionist. You know what I'm saying? And all of that stems from being a child, where simply I wanted to just give my homework to me, that I don't understand this. And now before I know it, there's a cane coming out because I didn't get the answer right. Or there's a cane coming out, and listen, that would have worked in Africa because I'm coming from survival mode. I am not surviving in UK. I'm thriving. I'm coming from a school where other kids are in the same school. They don't get beats like that, blah, blah. It's a different mindset. So I don't have that survival mindset. So my parents are thinking, or at least when I say my dad is thinking, this is okay because for him, that worked for him. Because let's be honest, where he's coming from, it's it's survival die, and that changes your mindset completely. I'm not in survival die. I've never had that lifestyle. Yo, I open a cupboard, there's food in there. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not worrying about my next meal and kind of stuff that. So my mind doesn't think the way his mind works. So simple things like, I'm bringing my homework to you to say, look, I don't understand this, and before I know it, I got a hanger hanging over the top of my head, ready to conk my head if I get it wrong, or a slap on my wrist because I'm not getting it right. And I'm like, brother, I'm just trying to get. I don't understand what I'm seeing. So now, what happens with me? I'm now fearful of taking new ventures because I'm scared I'm going to get it wrong. And where does that come from? It's not from me. It's not from adulthood. It's from youth. So now that's work I've now got to undo, to try and undo that process. And sometimes the wires are so entangled in your day-to-day DNA, you don't know where to start from. You don't even know when you got wires that are all tangled up, and you're like, where do I start? I can see where the source of the wires are coming from, but where the heck do I start? Even if I unplug them, where the heck do I start from? Do you know what I mean? So, so it's part and parcel of these things. We're going through things, But we as we're being more conscious and aware as a generation, it's important that we also make sure that we're implementing some of these knowledges nuggets into our children as well, so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Definitely. It also made me think about how we have to also feed life into our children sometimes too.
Mm,
Because I was listening, I can't remember which show it was, but they was talking about a kid being a bad kid. I think it was Real Housewives of Potomac, and the dad was calling one of the boys a bad kid, and the mom was kind of disagreeing with that word using a bad kid. And my dad used to always say that too. There's no such thing as bad kids; they're just mischievous. And at first I didn't understand what he meant, but it's like being bad is a taught behavior.
mm,
You learn that over time. But if you're not doing anything that requires you being bad, but you keep being told that you're bad, you start to think in my mind, well, I'm a bad kid, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad this. So I might as well do these things that the world considers
yeah.
to be bad because I've already been told that. I this is the condition that I've been told since I was a kid. And so sometimes you got to feed life into your children too, because
Come on.
we get to these points where it's just negative, 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 and we know that they react to the negative, but that's not always good. That doesn't always help because what they're reacting to is what they're processing and now what they're starting to become.
Mm,
And if we're not breathing that life into, you can be good at anything you wanted. Like there was a lot of things that I wanted to do. I wanted to sing. I wanted to do all kind of entertainment when I was younger and stuff. But I was always told I couldn't. I was told I couldn't even before I had the chance to. Like you guys never gave me a chance to even show you if I could.
mm,
So that made me just go into a shell of being insecure, being self-conscious, not wanting to express myself in any other way or being afraid to express myself in any other way, to when I needed to express myself, I would just break out in tears because I was so bottled up inside and I was so hurt and angry inside that the tears would just come out and I just couldn't have a real conversation with anybody because I was always told negative things about myself as I was growing up. And it was just like I had to spend hours in a mirror just to actually appreciate and love the person that I am. I was too skinny, I was too light, I was a bunch of things growing up and it was just like, geez, can I just be me? Can I just be Jay? Can I just exist? And it took me a while to realize it was them projecting themselves on me. Everything that they possibly didn't like or hated or, wanted to be, they were going to use me to shape me into it. And it was like some things you just can't shape me into. You can't shape me into being any darker, no matter how much I sit in the sun. You can't shape me to being any fatter, no matter how much you eat me. My metabolism is just going to do what it does, you know. And I had to start to shape me into loving me because I was very insecure growing up because of all the things that I was told. And so like I say, when I had my daughter, I had to breathe life into her because it's just like I feel those insecurities because when I carried her, I was still insecure. All of that was going into her DNA as I was carrying her. And so she came out with the insecurities and whatnot. So I have to breathe life back into her to say, hey, baby girl, you are beautiful. If you feel like I'm beautiful, you look just like me. So if you tell yourself you're not beautiful, you're telling me that I'm ugly. You know what I'm saying? If that's how you feel, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I know you feel like about me some type of way, and you are an exact image of me. You're everything. Actually, you're a better image of me. Like, you got your daddy and you got me up in you. So you're twice as whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't make ugly children. That's what I tell her. I'm like, I don't make ugly children. I don't make stupid children. I don't make none of this. I'm gonna give you every bit of confidence that I ever had in me, plus more if I can give it to you. you know, and that's just something that I had to learn because if I didn't learn that, I would be doing the same thing to her that was done to me. And that took years to get out of. It took a long time for me to sit there and really look at myself and say, you know what, you are not as bad as you think you are. Stop comparing yourself to other people. That was the biggest problem. And I noticed that problem when I had her too, because she would do that, like, oh, this, my friend has this kind of hair, or this, like, okay, that's not what you was born with, baby. You got to work with what you got. This is what you have. You are this complexion, you got to work with that. You are this height, you got to work with that. You got to stop looking at other people sometimes and comparing ourselves to other people and what they have, because that breeds insecurities within ourselves too. Start living with you and yourself, just being happy with who you are and just being a better you every single day that you're alive. Because really, I don't know no better way to put it, but you're just not competing with nobody but your old self. Really, you're not. You could put me in a room with 100 women right now, and I would appreciate every last woman up in there. But if I'm just not what you're looking for, I'm just not what you're looking for, and I'm okay with that. That I had learned to be able to live with, and I think modeling helped me through that. It helped me through those no's. I think acting helped me when you go into the acting room and they don't choose you or whatever. You're like, man, I just gave you my best performance of my life. What are you talking about right now? I'm just not what you're looking for. And sometimes you have to accept that part of life with it. It's like, don't beat yourself up. Don't get hard. Just keep going. Just keep moving, because there's somebody out there that's going to love you. And as long as you keep being you, and I think I got this best from Sky Townsend. She said it. She was like, I keep going to auditions, and I had to stop going to auditions being somebody else. I had to keep going to all the auditions being myself, because what they're looking for one day is going to be me. And I'm going to go into the audition being somebody else, and I'm going to miss that call just because I went to be somebody else. So every audition, I'm going in as myself. So figure out who you are. Just keep being yourself as you go through life. And like, that's the best thing you can do, because those that want to be with you and have a calling to be with you, they're going to find you, but they can't find you if you're out here pretending to be somebody else. So it's just like, I don't know. I know I just went on a whole little rant, but
no, we're listening.
But just be the best you could be every single day. Just compete with you of yesterday. Just be a better you every day you wake up, every day that God gives you. Continue to perfect yourself, because that's the only person you can work on. Like, that's it.
That's it. The only person you can work on is you. Well, we've reached an hour. We've done our hour here. So, guys, 133 of you guys were in here for this deep chat, man. You know what? Maybe we have to do this a bit more regularly. Do you know what I mean? Just shoot, it's good to get off your chest, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? What you're feeling and stuff. So, guys, I appreciate you for listening to myself and Jay and just talking about some of our experiences. I will let you guys know when the next one is. You know what I'm saying? If you want to come and share your thoughts, it's more of a conscious stream of thoughts. It's not necessarily, I think me and Jay were just doing kind of like tennis, where we're just kind of just saying what we were feeling, not necessarily having to unpack what the other person's saying, but rather just kind of just continuing on the course of conversation and just saying how we felt about things. So I hope you guys took something from it, and I hope that, it inspires you also to have some great conversations, if not with the people in question, with at least yourself, to start the ball rolling, and as well to move forward in grace, So we will see you again soon, guys. Okay, we'll see you again soon. But Jay, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Man. Appreciate it, man.
And thank you guys all in the chat.
That's right. All right, let's sign out, baby. Little Blackwood, you know what time it is.